Over the last 18 years, Mark Zuckerberg has created a virtual monopoly in the social media space. Today, 4 out of the top 6 social media apps are owned by his company, Meta. The most successful, being Facebook, had an average monthly user base of 2.9 billion. Meta apps overall reached 3.7 billion users, 46% of the human population. In 2021, revenue generated from these users totaled $118 billion, which is just over 4 times the total revenue of YouTube in the same year. Unfortunately for Mark, the methods used to make this money have come into the spotlight.
Why should we trust Facebook to make the necessary changes to ensure user privacy and give people a clearer picture of your privacy policies?
We have made a lot of mistakes in running the company.
If you've messaged anybody this week, would you share with us the names of the people you've messaged?
Senator, no, I would probably not choose to do that publicly here.
Raising questions of ethics and calls for regulation, putting their future on shaky ground.
Meta is to cut its global workforce by 13%.
The value of Facebook, that's Meta Platforms, dropped $251 billion.
I am not a lizard.
Clearly, there is distrust amongst Meta users and fear from its investors about what's going to happen next. After watching about half a dozen podcast interviews with Mark Zuckerberg, it's clear he believes social media in its current incarnation is not going to last forever. In order to combat this, he is aiming to monopolize the growing VR and AR industry, which he believes will be the home of the next big social media platforms.
But this is another step towards building the kind of social infrastructure that we believe is going to be important in the future. So you should be able to hang out with your friends, join groups, create events, share ideas in VR, just like you can online, with that added feeling of presence that no other technology platform that has existed before delivers.
Just look at what he's done in the last few years. Since 2019, Meta has invested $36 billion into the metaverse. Total VR headset sales per year have tripled since 2017. This last chart shows the percentage of sales controlled by each vendor, and it's absolutely wild that Meta has consistently been able to control over 60% of this market. If you haven't gotten the opportunity to use a Quest 2 headset, it might feel like this money is going to waste. But when you look at the speed of improvement of their VR social media platform, the number of games in the Quest 2 App Store, and improvements in how immersive their products are, you realize this money isn't just disappearing, it's going into the foundation of something big.
An experience that we've been working on called Horizon.
Basically, a social media platform in VR where people can create rooms or experiences that can be interacted with by one or multiple people. Probably the best known world, and I'm not sure if Meta specifically created this, would be the Soapstone Comedy Club. Here you can go on stage and perform in front of about 10 or 15 people. And this is one of the cool use cases of VR because it puts you in an experience that you can definitely get embarrassment from, but it'll also raise your confidence level when talking in front of people in the real world. I mentioned earlier that Meta is investing a lot into their hardware, and with the newest Quest Pro, they've added real-time face tracking. Now, not only do you have the presence of an individual beside you in VR, but you can see their face and how they react to what you're saying. They might smile, they might frown, they might look angry, but you can see that now. Meta is really playing on the psychology of the people that are using VR here. They know that as the immersion of their product increases, the emotional satisfaction of the people using it will also improve. And that whole experience of enjoyment that you can't get from anything else. So you will be back to VR. Or at least that's what Meta is betting on. Right now, the VR space is not that focused on advertisement. Just like how the internet, when it started, was not that focused on advertisement. But moving forward, 10 years from now, every platform in VR is going to have some form of advertisement, unless it's a paid experience. The ads conversation in regards to Meta is generally the main reason people feel
it can't be trusted.
But it's also why Meta is number one. It's why they're able to purchase any other social media company. So today, Meta wants to perfect how they can study you so that they can maximize their profits from you. The way that they are able to do it so much better than everybody else is because of these two things. They keep you on their platform, and they know what ads to target you specifically with. The simplest way to explain how they do this is they just take all of the information that you put on their platform, the things you say, the things you look at, and then they compare this to a bunch of other individuals that are similar to you in as many categories as possible. And they see what this person has purchased, what they have done on the platform. And they try and predict your behavior. And the better they can do this, the more they can charge per 1,000 views of an advertisement. This type of advertisement might sound a little bit dystopian, but I do promise you, Meta is going to make it a lot creepier when it comes to VR headsets. As Mark says in this clip,
and we now have a working demo that lets you control an AR or VR device with motor neuron signals. Here's what I'm seeing while I'm using this. Just the gentlest flick of my thumb to check my messages.
Here, the algorithm is learning in real time how to respond to the EMG signals the person is sending with only the slightest of hand movements.
This wrist device he's talking about could easily be used to measure your vital signs, like your heartbeat. That, along with facial tracking and gesture tracking, it's unlikely that you'll be able to hide whatever reaction to the advertisements they're showing you. I know they say they're not going to be collecting your facial data or data from these pieces of hardware, but they definitely will. On top of that, if they're able to compare your vital signs, reactions, and all of that to a neural network of 4 billion people, I'm sure they could accurately determine if you're in a buying mood or not, what products to show you based on this mood, based on what other individuals similar to yourself bought when they were in the same sort of mood. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for your time.